I've spent 5 years trying to get you into Radiant. 2 I Love episodes going over each season's best character, and the best panels videos trying to get you into the manga. Well, that's it. Today's the day. Stop whatever you're doing, drop your elitism, and listen up. We are going through it all. Everything that makes Radiant great, as much as I can possibly tell you without ruining the series. To start, I'll give you the bare bones you need before we go through the series and dive into the important characters, themes, and plot of Radiant. Seth was a small boy who was infected by the monsters called Nemesis. Most people simply die from exposure with the Nemesis, but an unlucky few survive, quickly becoming infected with a unique ailment that transforms their bodies. With that infection, they can now suck magic from the air, called Fantasia, and use that to carve out life as a fugitive fighting back against the Nemesis while hiding from the Inquisition. The Inquisition use an ancient magic known as miracles to protect their pure, untainted citizens from both the Nemesis and the infected sorcerers. This mindset has also deeply rooted itself in the common folk, to the point where Seth as a young boy was beaten and almost burned as a witch for being infected, even though his only visible infections were 2 small horns that are barely visible through his hair. Years after being saved by a traveling sorcerer named Alma, Seth decides to start his adventure to find the mythical home of the Nemesis and destroy it once and for all. On his way, he adds 2 friends to his team, a woman named Melly whose immense power is trapped behind layers of different personalities fighting with each other to take control while also hiding the truth, and Doc, a cowardly romantic who comes along to piece together a paycheck for any nemesis they capture along the way. So that is our cast. These are the 3 characters we will be experiencing a world of religious corruption, weaponized bigotry, and eternal conflict through. But first, we're going to Rumbletown.
Welcome to Rumbletown, a land of prosperity and blue-collar values. Our resource-rich land sustains a strong working people, protected under our proud flag by a warrior culture inquisition.
Our main cast first arrive in Rumbletown, once a thriving area with enough land to continuously welcome new residents and a strong mining sector to employ them. But after years of exploiting the land, the base of the Sky Island has become too weak to support the size of the town. In an attempt to save Rumbletown, the Inquisition have begun severing sections of the town and dropping them into the abyss below, using this crisis as an excuse to dispatch immigrant-heavy neighborhoods. With the remaining citizens getting packed into tighter and tighter areas, the rumors of a nemesis outbreak have people on edge. So if Seth, Melly, and Doc can capture this nemesis without being spotted, then everybody wins. Rumbletown's Inquisition base is run by Conrad, who fills a mix of roles from a military commander to a political leader. He not only has the Inquisition on high alert, but is also feeding the media information about the Nemesis. While holding one of the biggest rallies, Conrad's puppets push the narrative that maybe, just maybe, the immigrants are linked to the Nemesis attacks and are at fault for sinking parts of the city. We see this all around us. Those in power destroy habitable land, they impoverish communities, and when the water starts to get too hot and the people are mad, you give them an enemy. Conrad gives Rumbletown natives an other to hate. We see the townsfolk quickly start to turn on each other, accusing lifelong citizens of being traitors. And for now, Conrad wants them to simmer in that hatred for a little bit longer. Back with Seth, they've tracked down what looks like dozens of rat-like nemesis. They seemingly lead Seth to a mysterious sorcerer wrapped in magic parchment named Grimm, who attacks Seth believing him to be controlling the nemesis. But with the Inquisition flirting with martial law, the streets are overrun with inquisitors patrolling for any nemesis, infected, or immigrants. Grimm flees, leaving Seth and the others to sneak through Rumbletown. Unfortunately for them, they're in the immigrant-heavy northern suburb, which is now crawling with inquisitors. They take cover inside the Zed family house, who their son Taj is Conrad's perfect victim. Not just a visible minority, but an infected one. Aside from a full-scale liberation of Rumbletown, the best hope for Taj is that Seth and Melly capture the Nemesis and hope the Inquisition stop terrorizing the citizens once the actual threat is gone. One small problem, there's just so many. Melly only has so much magical energy, and Grimm is still flying around the city destroying their traps and looking for the source nemesis that spawned these echoes. Back in the central suburb, Conrad gets a visit from Captain Dragonov, one of the miracle workers. In the company of a friend and surrounded by his precious police-confiscated luxuries, he lets slip part of his plan. Conrad can't afford to launch into a full-blown witch hunt on his own. He needs the people to demand one. He rigs opinion polls in his favor and has been coordinating with the Domitor, the sorcerer who controls the Nemesis, to terrorize parts of Rumbletown that he wants to cleave off. The townsfolk have finally reached their boiling point. Waves of citizens have taken to the streets alongside the Inquisition to root out who they believe to be traitors in the northern suburb. A mob manages to catch Taj, so Melly and Seth can't stay hidden any longer. Mr. Zed attacks Seth right in front of the Inquisition to temporarily align himself and his remaining family as the good ones, and are now under Inquisition protection. When Seth and Melly find Taj, he's being dragged by the mob towards his execution. Seeing the joy on the faces of the townsfolk reminds Seth of his childhood almost being burned alive for his infection. He manages to get Taj out of danger, but Conrad's fleet arrive and use this opportunity to push the citizens to cleanse the city with fire. Rumbletown was once a thriving island, 10 times its current size, with opportunities for all. But look what they did to our home. Seth's fight with Conrad really pushes Conrad's vile rhetoric and beliefs to the extreme, and you'll just have to read it to see how great it really is. But what Conrad didn't expect is that the Domitor he had been working with wasn't just some crazed monster he could use and control. Hamlin wanted all of the people of Rumbletown in one place. During the last major collapse in Rumbletown, the Inquisition had been experimenting on a new Nemesis defense plan. Very few people survive touching a Nemesis, but those that do gain the ability to fight back against them. The Inquisition needed young, vulnerable sorcerers that they could control. Hamlin was part of this abusive orphan program, treated as disposable prisoners by Conrad and his fellow soldiers. The infected are truly seen as less than. Not just scary, but disgusting. Luckily, the children had one kind face. Inquisition Major Oshumare looked out for them. He has sympathy for the infected, the immigrants, and many of the prisoners, but more importantly, he fought back against those who didn't. But he mocked and belittled Conrad, told him to remember his place, and allowed his anger to fester. He drove Conrad away. He pushed him down when he was the most angry, ambitious, and desperate to advance within the ranks. But this gave Conrad an opportunity. Oshumare was a fool, too soft for his own good. Conrad orchestrates a jailbreak. With the Inquisition distracted, he kills 2 of the infected while stoking the fire within the citizens. Riots and beatings unleash across the island. Major Oshumare tries to comfort the remaining children, but this sign of weakness is all Conrad needs to finally convince the other soldiers to follow him instead. With the Nemesis attacking Rumbletown, the Inquisition resources are too spread out to properly defend the island. The remaining children follow Oshumare outside, where Conrad makes his move, stabbing Oshumare and leaving the last kids to be eaten by the Nemesis. The last part of his plan was to convince the captain of Rumbletown to sever the anchor point attached to the northeastern suburb, dropping both his enemies and the citizens into the abyss. Dragunov watches on in horror as Conrad joyfully watches his neighborhood plummet. After 15 years, he's trying the same trick again. Now outed for his crimes, Conrad tries to keep the public from turning on him. How could you possibly believe this Domitor and her fake news over your hyper-masculine leader? Now all of the sudden, everyone's a victim. It's all, I wasn't here 15 years ago. I didn't riot. It's not my fault. But to Hamlin, the entire town is complicit. It doesn't matter if you rioted. It doesn't matter if you stood by and did nothing. The inability for people to punish the sins of their leaders is damning enough. All of Rumbletown must pay. In just Radiant's first arc, we get a very clear idea of what this series is about. At its core, Radiant is a story about prejudice, and how corrupt people can use their power and influence to further radicalize their communities.
Cyfandir, the magical kingdom where those with infections are welcomed as brave heroes who protect their citizens.
Hamlin's story weighs on Seth. They shared such similar histories, and she had begun to change the way Seth thinks about his goal of destroying Radiant, the nest of the Nemesis. But for now, he heads to Cyfandir to learn what he can about the nest. The easiest way to access the Cyfandir archives is to sign up as a wizard knight. But sorcerers with visible infections are barred from joining the knights. Undeterred, Seth runs into a strange forest imp named Myrrh, who helps him infiltrate the knight stables. There, he meets Okaho and joins her on her mission to stop a spectral nemesis that is attacking the farms around Koshli and Merlin. The Wizard Knights have the ability to link their minds and act as a collective when attacking nemesis. They are fiercely loyal to their queen, a giant who wields memory stones of heroes long past. While the knights meet with their queen, Seth sneaks out to investigate the source of the strange ghost-like nemesis with Grimm. They seem to be summoned by some sort of magic crystal. His investigation into their source leads Seth to the magic forest around Koshli and Merlin. Here he meets Myrrh's wife Jill. They are ancient beings who not only use Fantasia, but can produce it. But as they grow older and human advancement continues, there's less and less Fantasia produced. The creatures that are capable of producing it are dying off. Jill's children, once they're born, will be the last hope of reviving the forest. While Seth learns about the nature of Fantasia and how to better control it, the Wizard Knights are struggling to keep a swarm of nemesis from the kingdom capital. Even with Okaho's impressive use of Gisoni to stop all the echoes by controlling her fellow knights and their dragons, the nemesis destroy the farms around the kingdom. But this was all according to plan. The merchant barons have been conspiring to gain power and influence in Cyfandir. They've coordinated chaos to keep the knights busy while laying waste to small farms. Now, with Cyfandir's resources depleted, not only will they be more willing to trade with outsiders, but once their trade relies on the allies of Bome, it will be easier to destroy them, toppling the largest continent that still stands opposed to the Inquisition. The son of a merchant baron has been masquerading as a wizard knight for years to gain the trust of his peers and superiors. He uses that influence to flip senior knights to unknowingly helping him overthrow the kingdom. But worse than that, he betrayed Okaho, his lifelong friend. Her infection is a small mark on the back of her neck that, when pressed, allows anybody the ability to control her. The barons have been using Okaho to terrorize the citizens at night, scaring them straight towards the barons. It would have been the perfect plan, but the Inquisition isn't so patient to allow time to slowly break down Cyfandir. After the incident in Rumbletown, the miracle workers are still hunting Seth and have arrived ahead of schedule. The Inquisition army have launched a full-scale invasion of Cyfandir. Conrad was just a muscled-up knight. The miracle workers, they have power on par with magic. They've sent some of their strongest thaumaturges not only to capture Seth, but to enslave him and the Wizard Knights. With help from the merchant barons, the Inquisition have white-silver cages, weapons, and chains that can cut through or even suppress Fantasia. And now, they're ready to test out a new machine that can suck Fantasia out of the air and destroy it, not only stripping the sorcerers of their magic, but stripping the forest of its very life. The Inquisition, when faced with opposition, looks to not only destroy their militaries, but their way of life. Without their Fantasia, the sheer might of the Inquisition is enough to capture the people of Cyfandir and force them into labor for the glory of Bome. Radiant's second arc shows us the danger of environmental destruction and how all of our lives are traced back to nature. And once we destroy it, there's very little hope of fixing it. And it reinforces the ideas of corrupt military powers stomping down on human rights for the benefit of a small group of privileged people. Glory to Bome, the grand capital of the Estria Empire. Not just the home of our king, but of our proud Inquisition. A rich land and people who defend the helpless and seek out to destroy the evil that comes from below. Well, we've made it to the grand city of Bome. Seth and the others are now joined by Okaho and have smuggled themselves into the heart of the Inquisition. We can finally see the inner workings of the Inquisition. How are they so widespread across Theranos? How have they amassed such an enormous military? Well, Seth didn't exactly enter the city peacefully. He gets caught on a nemesis as it flies through and crashes into the lap of Bome's king. And forgive me for butchering his name, King Hercules.
Who's that handsome guy? There's a handsome guy in my house.
It's only me.
This unit of a man, this prime specimen, takes a break from showing off for his guards and chases down Seth. But a flying Inquisitor quickly arrives and they get into an argument. King Hercules hates the Inquisition. They overstep their jurisdiction, they owe him money, their general parades around as if he's the king, and they mistreat and undervalue women who dream of joining the Inquisition, causing them to basically intern as members of the Royal Guard to gain experience before leaving for the Inquisition. And King Hercules loves his guards and hates losing them. While Seth is caught up with this sorcerer-esque Inquisitor, Doc, Melly, and Okaho have each landed themselves into their own predicaments. Doc ends up undercover, against his own will, in a school to learn about how the children of Bome are taught about infections. Melly and Okaho find themselves moments away from being crushed. Their only way out is to temporarily seal themselves in magic parchment. As a trapping sorcerer, that is something Melly could do, but she refuses to. As a last resort, Okaho falls back on what helped her save the farms around Coshley and Merlin. She betrays Melly's wishes and uses Gisoni to take control of her mind and seal them both within the parchment. While within Melly's parchment, we also seemingly enter her mind, reliving memories that Melly was desperate to keep hidden. Melly comes from a community of warriors. Her older sister Vanellope is a fierce hunter who trains her. The Melly we see here is very different. The other women in her sister's group laugh and call her crazy. She has a haunting expression, a mix of hollow fear and sadness. Her new, or I guess old, personality scares her community. They mock her for it, but worse, her mother abuses her for it. While trying to prove herself to Vanellope and her team, Melly recklessly attacks a nemesis far too powerful for her. When killing it isn't an option, she tries to seal it in the magic parchment, only to accidentally seal Vanellope, absorbing her as a new personality and the one that we know as Angry Melly. Because of the Gisoni, this old Melly personality has taken over. Okaho has done the same thing that she was a victim of, using her friend against her will, and has now lost Melly in the process. And years later, this loss still looms over Radiant's third arc. While Doc is undercover, he learns about the Inquisition's belief on the Nemesis and the Infected. They believe Radiant, the nest of all Nemesis, essentially comes from Hell, and that the Infected are not just regular people who have survived contact, but Nemesis-like creatures themselves, who attempt to take on a human form, and that their infections are proof of the Nemesis' true nature leaking out. It's easy to see how multiple generations of these teachings could lead the Inquisition to growing to such a dominant size. King Hercules even mentions how the Inquisition used to be more manageable, but they've gone so far down the path of bigotry and fear that they'll even turn on their own for daring to speak to the enemy. Despite hating the Infected, the Inquisition has begun using conversos, infected prisoners who use their abilities to help the Inquisition in exchange for a small amount of freedom. Essentially, the grown-up version of the program Hamlin was in Rumbletown. Seth manages to escape from the conversos, but learns Bome is filled with Domitors, the same group Hamlin belonged to. With a grand Inquisition parade happening in Bome, the Domitors are hatching a plan. After the recent events in Rumbletown and Cyfandir, the Inquisition is using this parade as a show of force. Thaumaturges from all over Theranos have arrived, as well as kings from the other Estria empires. When the parade is attacked by the Domitors, and the Horned Sorcerer Seth is among the chaos, the Inquisition finally seems to snap. Their power has been questioned too many times, and a more blatant show of force became necessary. General Torque is ready to purge those disloyal to the Inquisition, kill any thaumaturges that don't support him, but more than that, he has declared martial law in Bome. The Inquisition goes door to door, enforcing a curfew and detaining any infected or other minority groups. Bome will be locked down. Any minor infraction will result in prison time. All infected will be put on a registry. Neighboring kingdoms will be providing inquisitors, now over tripling their numbers. The Inquisition will be in every street, around every wall, outside every window, for the public's safety, of course. Radiant is more important now than ever. Although not entirely written in our modern political context, we have allowed these ideas to circle back around. We are seeing every aspect of this series play out in our real world. Conrad is the belittled young boy who gets sucked into the alt-right. He feels mocked and allows that pain to fester until he takes out his rage on those around him. He believes he deserves Rumbletown, and so he takes it. The Inquisition leaders across all 3 arcs are the populist governments who manufacture division for their own end goal of absolute power. The Wizard Knights are blindly loyal to their queen and country, but that blind loyalty made them easy targets to manipulate, ultimately betraying the things they swore to protect. The Merchant Barons are the big tech companies knowingly destroying our mental health for their own profits, or large food companies knowingly destroying our physical health. General Torque is the leader too fragile and too afraid of being proven wrong that he will betray his own friends and comrades to keep them silent. Radiant isn't just a story about corruption, hatred, and division. It's also a story about how well-intentioned people can create or reinforce systems that push otherwise good people into corruption and hatred, and how truly good people can still make mistakes. That's it. We're in the last couple days before YouTube cuts off my monetization, and I figured if I'm gonna go out, I want to go out with my kind of video. I want to do a deep, modern-day Canadian political dive on my favorite manga, Radiant. I want to share what I'm passionate about. I don't want to just grind episode reviews because the algorithm might like them. I want to spend time, and similar with my Pokemon channel, I want to make longer videos less frequently that mean something and that have my heart in them. So, I hope you enjoyed it. I would like to do this format in the future if YouTube allows it, but as we stand now, I don't know, all these years for nothing, I guess, but I still love creating content. It's just, I don't know. It's hard. I haven't found what works yet, I guess. I mean, my Pokemon channel, I feel like it's working, but I don't know. If you like this video, please let me know. Comments would help a lot. I have a couple more recent videos that I'm very proud of that I will link. I have my Pokemon channel if you're into Nuzlocke and Artlocks. And I have my manga, Maidral. If you want to read a new shonen manga, I've put so many years into Maidral trying to make it good. I think it's great. I think this is the best thing I've ever made. And I really hope that you guys give it a chance. So, thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and comment or whatever. And I hope to see you again. It's crazy to think this might be my last anime video.